Most consultants and operators, just like you, typically never go past six figures. And not because you lack skill, obviously you have a lot of experience, but because you lack a system. You rely most likely on referrals or one off gigs and most likely hope. And eventually you burn out or plateau. The one who breaks through and is literally following a proven process, and that's what I'm here to share today. Sangram here. I've built two companies over 100 million exits and have written three books. One of them is a Wall Street Journal bestseller. I've trained over 70,000 professionals. You can check it out on Go to Market. So in this video, I'm going to walk through the 6-step system that I have used clearly to have outsized impact and help dozens of fractionals just like you to build a 7-figure consulting experience. All that to share is that I want to take the credibility factor out and for you to really believe and listen carefully about the 6 steps, because a lot of people miss some of the most important steps in it. And the last step obviously is the most important one, because if you miss that, you will be in a hamster wheel, and maybe that's what you feel. So let's get started. Step number 1, figuring out your ICP. That is your ideal customer profile. The reason this is important is because let me tell a story about one of our students. One of them is Lydia, who is focused on 100%. She's focused on legal tech, and one of the best things that are happening for her is because she's been a CMO for over 20-30 years, but she has spent majority of her time in legal tech. And when we talk to her and when she shares her story that when she focused on legal tech, she is now the queen of legal tech and she's the best known CMO in that industry. The reason I'm sharing that is because your ICP might be the difference between what you're talking about and who is buying from you. Many times with all the experience you have, and this whole video is for people who have 10, 20, 30 years of experience in your own field and is really trying to figure out where do you start. The two things you should never worry about is starting from scratch, because you have spent 10, 20, 30 years building something. So you shouldn't have to start from scratch. And two, how do I build a funnel so that people will actually come talk to you as opposed to spamming? So those are the two things that we are really trying to address. But step number 1 is to define the very niche that you want to go after. Really important point for you to recognize is that the niche that you're going to go after, it doesn't have to be to a point where you don't know who you're talking to. For example, a lot of times the niche is that, well, I'll go after all B2B. I can do CMO work for all B2B companies. That's a problem. Or you might say, I want to go and do work for all of these companies in North America. That's a problem. Or you might say every company between 50 and 500 million is a potential customer. That's a problem. The reason is because it doesn't really tell who you are and why you're important and special. Instead of this, try this. Let's say you say, I'm a GTMO certified partner. I focus on companies that have 10 to 50 employees, especially in the manufacturing area. And I have 20 years of experience helping companies, so I understand the business really well. And I know which marketing or sales strategies are going to work for you because I have a proven record of it. Think about the difference between the two. Now you're going and talking to the people. It matters. You can go to the events. Once you figure out what the ICP is, you can actually hang out in the communities where those ICP hang out, as opposed to just in the la la land of LinkedIn or whatever it is. So ultimately, you need to figure out what is your ICP very clearly, and that changes the game. Number 2, you have to craft a transformation. Remember, everything that you share in the world is information. What people buy is transformation. Information is an overload for all of us. We all are right now in an overload mode. We get too much information. What people are really looking for, what people would actually pay real money, is transformation. So if you can actually paint a picture, for example, when students join our go-to-market or certified partner program, we would tell them like, hey, you can build a $250 to $1 million lifestyle business using our operating system. Our frameworks and funnels are going to help you not start from scratch, but also help you figure out how to create demand without being a spammer. That clicks. Why? Because if you're listening to that and if you have 10, 20 years of experience, you're like, I don't want to do spam. I don't want to do cold calls. I don't want to run ads. When I don't have a big audience. Like, how am I going to get it? And when we offer frameworks and funnels, it becomes a no-brainer for a lot of our students. So figure out what transformation are you really trying to go for. Once you figure that part out, the rest is super easy, and actually fun actually begins when you start there. Now, third step, don't miss on this. Once you figure out your ICP, once you figure out the transformation, the third step is about what's unique about the way you deliver your work. And this is where frameworks come in a big way. If you could say, for us, we would say like, hey, we have a GTM OS, which is an operating system that helps you transform your business from point A to point B, wherever, whatever different. When we know what the business is, we'll actually be very, very specific about it. But we're literally telling them that we have a proprietary way of doing things, and we have done that over with 70,000 plus students, and they've used our frameworks, and we know it works. We have all kinds of reviews on it, hundreds of reviews of people who have read our books and are actually implementing our programs and frameworks. So we have a lot of credibility to show and walk into any room in the world and say, hey, here's our proven framework, and here are the results, and here are thousands of people who've got the results. That changes the equation in the minds of others. So for you, you have to figure out what is your signature framework. And if you don't, worry not, because what you can do is build a business on somebody else's framework. For example, an example is like, if you have never heard about EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System, they work with the small, mid-sized companies, and they help with companies with vision, mission, those kind of things. So you can literally say, I'm a EOS implementer. Or if you've heard about John Maxwell, they have a certified coaching program for leadership coaches. You sign up for their certification. I think it's about $5,000-$10,000, and you pay some monthly dues, and you are a John Maxwell certified coach, which ultimately gives you credibility. Or you could be a GTMO certified. If you're in go-to-market, you can be a GTMO certified with us, and you can say, hey, I'm a GTMO certified coach. The point is, you can build it on your own. You got to have your own framework and have credibility and reviews around that stuff, or you got to build it on somebody else's framework. Either way, you have to figure out what actually is going to drive that conversation, where your credibility is for that ICP, for that transformation that you promise to deliver, with what kind of framework you have. This brings to number 4. This is where you can make or break your business. It's called the offer. Think about when every time you see a deal happening, if you're a fan of Shark Tank and you hear all of it, like, here's the deal and everybody's bidding on it. Ultimately, what you're really looking for and sharing is the offer. What's your offer? Do you do workshops? Do you do assessments? Do you do coaching? Do you do whatever it is? It has to link back to the transformation. Remember, information that you may have 20 years of experience as doing whatever you do, but transformation is about the outcome, and the outcome has to connect to an offer. So an offer could be very, very simply, I'll give you 3 different examples of offer. We have done this. We teach a lot of students to set that up, but that's part of what we love, because they are able to sell that much more easier, and it has to be simple. So offer example number 1 could be simple as this. We do a go-to-market assessment. You go through the assessment, you and your team, and then I'll do a complete executive readout for you, where the gaps are, what the problems might be, and where you should focus on in the next 90 days to go from point A to point B. That's offer number 1. Offer number 2 could be, hey, I could do an executive workshop where we help you align on the top priorities for the business to go from point A to point B. Assuming you've done the discovery, that makes sense. Point number 3, hey, we have an yearly program where every quarter we come in and do assessment, identify the gaps that you have, and then help you prioritize, Mr. or Ms. CEO, on the key areas that is going to drive your business from point A to point B. All of these are very outcome focused. All of this is focused directly to the pain point, to an executive that you're trying to sell, in this case, a CEO. Offer is the reason why people would buy from you or not buy from you. If you miss creating a clear, simple offer that they can bite on, you are going to miss out. No matter how much information, how many emails you send out, whatever it is, they are not gonna work with it. That brings us to number 5. This is about establishing your authority. Now, we talked to a lot of people who go through our programs and others, and they say, look, I've done this for 10 years and everybody on my team knew how good I am, but nobody on the LinkedIn network knows you. Nobody outside of the 5, 7, 8, 10 people knows you. So you have to humble yourself and realize that maybe you do not have the authority that you claim to have. What you do have is experience, and you have to figure out a way to turn your experience into authority. So a lot of times when we work with clients, the 3 things that we have them do is that clean up their LinkedIn profile. That's number one. Why? Because if you go to my LinkedIn today and you check it out, you will see that it very clearly, or any of our students, it very clearly talks about who they are, what they do, and what they serve. It'd be number two, we actually make them make an announcement. Here's very important. LinkedIn, if you're using LinkedIn as an example, if you're in B2B and that's where your audience is, you need to let everybody know that you have started something new. And the only way it works is not by saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, but actually creating a new job, because that's the only way LinkedIn will promote it to everywhere. Let me take a detour for just a fraction of a couple of minutes. Once upon a time, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of them worked on how many subscribers you had, how many followers you had. No longer is that true. What they all have changed now is who is liking your content. Marketing actually is free for you, especially with your experience, but you have to make sure that you're writing to an audience, which is why the step number one is so important, figuring out your ICP. Step number two, what kind of transformation are you creating for them? Step number three, what is the framework that actually brings them together? Step number four, what is the offer that people are going to buy? And then step number five, how does it all come together on, let's say, a LinkedIn profile page? Because your LinkedIn is your website. Especially if you're in B2B, that's what people are going to go and look at. Like, who is this person? Who's this gal? Who's this guy who has emailing me or shared with me? Do I need an assessment? Let me show you another story. This is Don Jury. He has been incredible in sales in the world of go-to-market. And he literally used our assessment and sent it to, on 4th of July weekend, by the way, sent it to about 10 people. He got 4 replies who said, yeah, we'll do it. He had 1 connection that said, oh, this is so good. Let me introduce you to 6 more people. And now he's setting meetings with them to start closing. This happened during the 4th of July weekend. The reason is his offer was very clear. Here's an assessment, here's the research, and I'll do a readout for you. So you got to figure out what that is. Another example is like Sue Foley. She's phenomenal. She's based out of Australia, by the way. And she came in and she started with us and said, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if I should start and get certified and become a partner. But her website, everything was all, in different places. Because when you start off as starting to build a book of business, trying to build $1 million business, and you think about all of these things, you are in the world of work, because you are trying to figure out what is the name of my LLC, what should I be on the website, what should I write on LinkedIn, what kind of content I should put, what should the banner say, what should it be, an LLC or S Corp. You are thinking about all of these issues. But in reality, you should only be focusing on getting your first 5 clients. That's it. So when we worked with Sue, she got certified literally the day she watched the videos, and then she started reaching out to people. And in 30 days, kid you not, you can see the link below about her. In 30 days, she was able to go and close 4 deals, 4 clients, fractional. She went from not sure if I can pay my mortgage this month to, okay, I got too much work, I need help. That's the kind of transformation you're really looking for your clients, and that requires action, and that requires an offer, that requires a transformation, that requires the right ICP, and that also requires the right authority. So you got to build your authority. That's step number 5. The last step, this is by far the most important step. Most people, they really don't think about this. This is where you have to go and engineer your lifestyle. Now, what I mean by engineering your lifestyle, this is simply this. You got to figure out, you've already spent 10, 20, 30 years building something. You've probably worked 80 hours a week. When you go into building your own business, you have to be careful that you don't go into overdrive. What I mean by that is we see a lot of fractionals who do not have a community and they feel alone. They feel lonely. We see a lot of fractionals or people who are trying to build a business, they are trying to do it alone. And what that happens is burnout. You will actually take all of your pain on your family and the loved ones who are actually giving you the opportunity to do it, or for whom you might be actually on this video listening because you want to build something for them. You want to build a legacy. You want to create more time. Or a lot of times people just don't know. So what they do is they spend way more time, and you forget that time is money. So what we recommend everybody is to if you're trying to build $1 million book of business, you don't need to start with trying to say, okay, that requires me to sell like 100,000 a month, no, that's not the point. You actually build $1 million business by breaking it down into smaller steps. You try to get 5, 10, $20,000 clients a month, and slowly you start building a portfolio. And you don't go overnight there, but you absolutely can create a system to build that. And the system is the 6 steps. You got to define your ICP. You cannot skip that. You have to get your transformation right. You got your frameworks right. You got to get an offer very clear and simple so people can know what to buy and how to buy. And you have to get your brand identity right. And all of this needs to align with how you engineer your lifestyle. For me, I'm going to take Fridays off. For me, I want to have flexibility. My kids are getting old, and my son is in a tennis tournament right now. My daughter is getting into it. And so I want to be able to go to tournaments and do all these things. I can't do that if I'm having a full-time job and if I'm working all the time. I don't want work-life balance. I'm going to work when I need to work, and I want to stop when I don't want to work. And that only happens when you engineer your lifestyle around these 6 principles. So use this. You can actually see we created a course around this. It's free for you since you watch this to see how you can build a book of business from $250K to $1 million in a matter of months, if not a year. It's not simple. It's not easy, but it is systematic. It's possible, and we have done that. We absolutely done that. Our students like Dawn and Sue and Celeste, all of these people that you see, they all have done it. You can do it too. So check out the 6-step process. We have done a whole course. The recording is in the bottom here, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.